A set of calipers is definitely a must-have tool, so the question is this $10 set of calipers, which is sold at Harbor Freight, just as good as a set that costs $250? Well, let's find out. And the first test, we'll see which calipers are the smoothest. Then we'll see which ones are the most accurate at measuring square and round objects, holes, and inside diameter. So why spend $250 on calipers when you can buy this Adoric brand for only $7? They claim it has a large LCD screen and it has an auto on and off feature. They claim accuracy down to 0.01 inches. You can measure inside and outside diameter as well as depth and step with 2 sets of jaws and a probe. If it's not used within 5 minutes, it'll automatically shut down. It even comes with an extra battery. And the Adoric calipers are made in China. Weight is sometimes an indicator of quality, and the Adoric is very light at 54.33 grams. And the Adoric is not smooth at all and seems pretty gritty. Before we test the accuracy of the calipers, let's first test how consistent the lower jaw is at movement. And the Adoric jaw began sliding at just over 120 grams and then became a lot stiffer to move at almost 300 grams. The jaw then became a lot looser at less than 100 grams and then stiffer once again. Definitely not a very consistent set of calipers. At a price of $10 is this Pittsburgh brand, which is sold at Harbor Freight. It's supposed to measure accurately within 0.01 inches for use inside, outside, depth, and step measurements. Made of impact-resistant composite material for lightweight and durability. Throat depth is 1 9/16 inches on the outside jaws and 5/8 inches on the inside jaws. And the Pittsburgh is made in China. And the Pittsburgh weighs 57.36 grams. Just like the Adoric, the Pittsburgh is also pretty rough. And the Pittsburgh started off pretty loose at around 120 grams and hit a rough spot, spiking to over 200 grams. The Pittsburgh then experienced about a 20-gram variance in force throughout the rest of the travel range. So definitely a lot better than the Adoric. At a price of $18 is this Jiavarry brand. It includes a screwdriver for changing the battery. It comes with a battery pre-installed and 2 spare batteries. It offers accuracy down to 0.001 inches. It also offers 4 measurement modes. And the Jiavarry is the first of the brands to offer a thumb wheel. And the Jiavarry is made in China. And the Jiavarry is by far the heaviest yet at 185.19 grams. And the Jiavarry is not gritty, but it's definitely not very smooth. And the Jiavarry started off around 320 grams. And this set of calipers is not very consistent, as the amount of force to slide the jaw varied significantly throughout the entire travel range. At a price of $20 is this Kynup brand. It's supposed to be accurate down to 0.001 inches. It's made of stainless steel and has IP54 splash-proof protection. It comes with 1 battery installed and 2 extras. To save the battery, it automatically shuts down after 6 minutes of non-use. And the Kynup uses a CR2032 battery. And the Kynup is made in China. And the Kynup weighs 205.19 grams. And the Kynup is the smoothest yet. And the Kynup started off around 350 grams and gradually dropped to around 309. Then the force required to slide the jaw gradually increased to over 350 grams once again. Definitely the best yet. At a price of $21 is this VINCA brand. They claim it has a large LCD screen, fine polished stainless steel. They claim it has advanced processing depthometer groove to give better looking, smooth gliding, and accurate result. They claim each caliper has been fully calibrated. The battery cover is held in place by 1 screw. And the VINCA is made in China. And it's 174.19 grams for the VINCA. The VINCA doesn't seem quite as smooth as the Kynup. And the VINCA started off around 264 grams and then became very stiff at around 450. And the VINCA doesn't feel nearly as gritty as the Adoric and the Pittsburgh, but it's just not nearly as smooth as the Kynup. At a price of $23 is this Hardell brand. They claim it has a high-quality stainless steel that is sturdy, waterproof, and abrasion resistant. They claim an accuracy of 0.001 inches. It measures inside diameter, outside diameter, depth measurement, and step measurement. It turns off automatically after 5 minutes of non-use. It even comes with a ruler. And the Hardell is made in China. And the Hardell weighs 164.5 grams. And the Hardell is not quite as smooth as some of the other brands. And the Hardell started off around 300 grams and bounced around between 330 and 320 for most of the range, when the jaws were nearly closed around 335 grams. So pretty good, but not quite as good as a Kynup. At a price of $25 is this NEIKO brand. They claim it has an extra large LCD screen, a quick change button that allows changing between 3 different modes, inch, fraction, and millimeter. It offers resolution down to 0.0005 inches. And the NEIKO is made in China. And it's 173.93 grams for the NEIKO. And the NEIKO seems pretty smooth. And the NEIKO started off around 360 grams and is by far the most consistent set of calipers yet. It feels very smooth throughout the entire range with a peak force of around 390. Definitely the smoothest feeling and most consistent set of calipers yet. At a price of $26 is this Louisware brand. They claim accuracy to 0.001 inches. Inside diameter, outside diameter, depth measurement, and step measurement. It includes 2 different batteries. And the Louisware is made in China. And the Louisware weighs 194.08 grams. And the Louisware definitely has a couple of rough spots. And the Louisware started off pretty loose at under 200 grams. And the beam on the Louisware has a couple of inconsistent areas. The amount of force varied from 200 to 260 grams throughout the entire working range. Stiff to loose and stiff to loose once again seems worse than gritty. At a price of $27 is this Werka brand. They claim high accuracy down to 0.001 inches. They claim the Caliper has a precise thumb roller for smooth movement. It also has a low battery warning feature. The battery cover is held in place by one screw. And the Werka is made in China. And it's 175.06 grams for the Werka. And the Werka is definitely smoother than most. And the Werka started off at around 345 grams of force and briefly spiked to over 370 grams of force before smoothing out. And the Werka held a pretty narrow range from around 330 to 350 grams of force for most of the travel range, which is pretty good. At a price of $36 is this Johnson Level & Tool brand. They claim an accuracy down to 0.004 inches. The depth gauge has a resolution that reads 0.0005 inches. In fraction mode, 1/64 inches. And the Johnson Level & Tool is made in China. And the Johnson Level & Tool weighs 166.34 grams. And the Johnson Level & Tool is definitely not as smooth as some of the other brands. And the Johnson & Tool started off below 300 grams and quickly jumped to over 340 grams. The amount of force gradually decreased to around 305 grams until midpoint. Then the amount of force gradually increased to around 360. At a price of $40 is this S&F brand. Designed for accurate measuring down to 0.001 inches. Unlike most of the other brands, this one uses a CR2032 battery. Resolution 0.0005 inches. Automatically powers down after 5 minutes of inactivity. From top to bottom, this is a pretty thick set of calipers. The S&F is made in China. And the S&F weighs 206.09 grams. And the S&F just isn't very smooth. And the S&F calipers are starting off at around 285 grams of force, and there's quite a bit of variance throughout the working range. The amount of force required to move the jaw during the last 2 inches increased by around 100 grams to 370. At a price of $50 is this Quinn brand, which is sold at Harbor Freight. They claim the integrated depth rod makes it easy to measure cylinder and cubic depth. Jaw depth 1.57 inches and outside jaw 0.687. And the Quinn is made in China. And it's 166.57 grams for the Quinn. And the Quinn is pretty smooth, but it does have a couple of rough areas. And the Harbor Freight Quinn is by far the tightest in the lineup so far, starting off at around 450 grams and quickly spiking past the limit of the scales at 500 grams. Throughout the working range, there were a couple of stiff areas. At a price of $72 is this INSIZE brand. Resolution down to 0.0005 inches. It automatically powers off. It uses a CR2032 battery. There's no screwdriver required to remove the battery cover. And the INSIZE is made in China. And the INSIZE weighs 173.44 grams. And the INSIZE seems pretty smooth. And the INSIZE seems just about as tight as the Quinn and is starting off at around 450 grams. However, the INSIZE is far more consistent than the Quinn, holding a pretty narrow range from around 440 to 460. Definitely more consistent and smoother than most of the other brands. At a price of $120 is this Fowler brand. They claim a resolution down to 0.0005 inches. Hardened stainless steel frame for corrosion resistance and long life. Shows inch and metric units. And the Fowler is made in China. And the Fowler weighs right at 167 grams. And the Fowler seems smoother than most of the other brands. And the Fowler started off requiring less force than most of the other brands at around 290 grams. The amount of force to move the jaw varied mostly from around 240 to 260 grams of force. And the Fowler definitely seems smoother than most of the other brands. At the price of $144 is this Starrett brand. The caliper will turn off after 30 minutes of no slide movement. Resolution down to 0.0005 inches. And the Starrett is made in Scotland. And the Starrett weighs right at 166 grams. And the Starrett is a little bit noisy, but it is pretty smooth. And the Starrett's jaw moves freely, starting off at around 210 grams of force. As the jaw narrows, it gradually takes a little more force throughout the working range with a peak force of around 245. Definitely one of the best in the lineup for smoothness. At a price of $454 for the calipers and a micrometer is this Mitutoyo brand. For just the calipers, it costs approximately $250. Absolute linear scale eliminates the need for setting the origin point every time the unit is powered on. It even includes a pretty nice case. Overspeed errors are also eliminated. Stainless steel construction protects caliper components and ensures accurate performance for longer duration. It does have an alarm for low voltage. And the Mitutoyo is made in Japan. And it's 160.6 grams for the Mitutoyo. And the Mitutoyo is also very smooth. And the Mitutoyo started off in the 290s and stayed in the 280s and 90s throughout most of the range. Just like the Starrett, the amount of force to close the jaw near the end of the range gradually increased with a peak force of around 338 grams. Definitely a very smooth set of calipers. A set of calipers with a very straight and smooth beam should provide a consistent amount of force to close the jaw. And the INSIZE did the best on this test with only 28 grams of variance. The Werka and the Starrett tied for second place at 36 grams. Some of the calipers feel very gritty and rough. Perceived grittiness is highly subjective, but the Mitutoyo feels the smoothest with the first place ranking. The very affordable NEIKO brand feels almost as smooth with a second place finish. The Starrett is also very smooth with a third place finish. I purchased a 123 block to measure the accuracy of the calipers. Using the micrometer, the 1-inch side of the block is measuring 1.00005 inches, which is very good. So let's measure the accuracy of the calipers next. Excessive or insufficient force can be applied to the calipers, and that can cause an inaccurate measurement. So I'll use a string and I'll add just enough weight to fully close the jaws. I'll avoid using my thumb on the thumb wheel to avoid causing an error. I'll wipe the jaws clean and then I'll close the jaws and zero the calipers. With the jaws covering most of the block, the Adoric is right at 1 inch. Moving the block to the outer edge of the jaws, 0.99 inches. The 2-inch area of the block is at 1.99 inches and the 3-inch area at 2.99. And the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh is right at 1 inch and 0.99, just like the Adoric. However, the Pittsburgh is a little more accurate than the Adoric at right at 2 and 3 inches. And the Jiavarry offers 2 decimal places and is pretty close at 0.9985 and 0.998 inches. And is 1.999 and right at 3 inches. And the Kynup is a little bit more accurate than the Jiavarry at 0.9995 and 0.999 inches. A perfect score at 2 inches and 5/10,000ths of an inch over at 3 inches, which is really good. And the VINCA is at 0.9985 and 0.999 inches. It's also at 1.998 and 2.9985, so not quite as close as the Jiavarry and the Kynup. And the Hardell is the most accurate yet, landing right on 1 inches both times and right at 2 and 3 inches. And the NEIKO is perfect at 1 inches both times and at 2 inches. On the 3-inch block, the NEIKO is 5/10,000ths of an inch over. The Louisware is right at 1 inch and 0.9995 inches. The Louisware then scored perfect on both 2 and 3 inches. The Werka is highly precise at 1 inches both times. It's also perfect at 2 inches and 5/10,000ths of an inch over at 3 inches. And the Johnson level and tool is off by just a little at 0.9995 and 0.9985 inches. And the Johnson level and tool is perfect at 2 and 3 inches. After cleaning and zeroing the S&F, the calipers aren't consistently finding zero. None of the other calipers had this issue. Not surprisingly, the S&F is off by a little at measuring 1 inch both times. It's also off by a little at 2 inches and then perfect at 3. And the Harbor Freight Quinn is at 1.001 and 1.0005 inches. The Quinn is also over by just a little at 2 and 3 inches. The INSIZE measured perfect both times at 1 inch and was off by a little at 2 inches. The INSIZE is perfect once again at 3 inches. And the Fowler is at 1 inch and 0.9995 on the 1-inch side of the block. And the Fowler is right on target at 2 and 3 inches. And the Starrett is perfect on both 1-inch measurements. And the Starrett is also perfect at 2 and 3 inches. And the Mitutoyo is also perfect at both 1-inch measurements. It's also perfect at 2 inches and 5/10,000ths of an inch over at 3 inches. And the Hardell and the Starrett are in perfect scores. However, the NEIKO, Louisware, Werka, Fowler, and Mitutoyo are very close to perfect with a cumulative error of 0.0005 inches. In the next test, let's measure the accuracy of the calipers measuring depth. With only 2 decimal points, the Adoric is right on target at 1, 2, and 3 inches. Let's skip the Pittsburgh since it's not designed for this test. And the Jiavarry is pretty close at 1.0025 inches. And it's 2.0155 and 3.005 inches. Once again, the Kynup is a little bit more accurate than the Jiavarry at 1.001 and 2.0045 inches. And 3.0025 inches is also a little more accurate. And the VINCA is a little bit over at 1.0005 and a little bit under at 1.9995 inches. A little under again at 2.9995. And the Hardell is off by most, measuring 1.002, 2.0115, and 3.002 inches. And the NEIKO is quite a bit closer than the Hardell at 1.001, 2.0005, and 3.001 inches. And the Louisware once again trails the NEIKO at 1.005, 2.0045, and 3.009 inches. And the Werka performed well once again at 1.0005, 2.001, and 3.001 inches. And the Johnson level and tool is right on target at 1 inch. It's also very close at 2.0005 and 3.001 inches. And the S&F is right at 1.001, 1.9995, and 2.9985 inches. And the Quinn is off a little bit more than some of the other brands at 1.0015, 2.0015, and 3.001 inches. And the INSIZE scored perfect at 1, 2, and 3 inches. Very impressive. And the Fowler isn't quite as accurate as the INSIZE this time at 1.001, 2.001, and 3.001 inches. And the Starrett is at 1.001, 2.001, and 3.0015 inches, which is about the same as the Fowler. And the Mitutoyo performed better than average at 1.001, 2.0005, and 3.001 inches. The Adoric calipers only show 2 decimal places versus 4 for the others, so I'm excluding their results from the comparison. So the INSIZE finished in first place without any measurement discrepancies. The VINCA and Johnson level and tool tied for second place with a cumulative discrepancy of 0.0015 inches. I cut a groove into this bolt to simulate a groove for an O-ring. The outside measuring tips on the calipers vary quite a bit, and this can prevent an accurate measurement of a narrow groove. The measurement should be 0.303 inches. And the Adoric is measuring right at 0.34 inches. A close-up look under the microscope, and the outside measuring tips are too wide to fit into the groove. And the Pittsburgh is also measuring 0.34 inches, which is an oversized error just like the Adoric. And the Jiavarry is measuring 0.3115 inches, the closest yet. The outer measuring jaws on the Jiavarry are a lot sharper, and they're fitting into the groove much deeper. And the Kynup is also performing well at 0.3135 inches. The VINCA isn't measuring quite as deep as the Kynup at 0.3195 inches. And the Hardell's outside measuring tips fit nicely into the groove at 0.3135 inches. And the NEIKO isn't able to fit into the groove quite as deeply at 0.3185 inches. The Louisware's outside measuring tips are too wide and are measuring 0.336 inches. And the Werka is off the mark more than some of the other brands at 0.323 inches. And a 0.3295 measurement by the Johnson level and tool is off by quite a bit. Just like the Werka, the Johnson level and tool is off by more than most of the other brands at 0.3295. And the S&F performed quite a bit better than average at 0.3125 inches. And the Quinn is pretty close at 0.313 inches. The outside jaw is a little too wide, and the INSIZE is off at 0.3225 inches. And the Fowler is the closest yet at 0.31 inches. And the Starrett performed better than average at 0.315. And Mitutoyo also performed better than average at 0.3145 inches. So none of the micrometers were able to measure the very center of the deepest part of the groove at 0.303 inches. The Fowler came the closest at 0.31. Jiavarry finished in second place at 0.3115 and S&F third at 0.3125 inches. I compared the performance of the calipers on measuring hole size, and most of the calipers performed well and were right on the target size of 0.4045 inches. I also measured the accuracy of the calipers at measuring a drill bit that's right at 0.49725 inches. And the top 6 brands had an incredibly small measurement discrepancy compared to the micrometer. An absolute linear scaling calipers uses a built-in reference point, so it always knows its position even after powering off. So when you restart the calipers, you don't have to reset the 0 each time. This is a very nice feature, and only the Quinn, Fowler, and Mitutoyo have this feature. Some of the calipers use a CR2032 battery, which has around a 220 mAh capacity. Most of the less expensive calipers use the LR44, which has about half the battery capacity. Having a CR2032 cell will definitely help the battery last a long time. Even though the Mitutoyo does use an LR44 battery, the Mitutoyo calipers use a patented low-power technology designed to minimize battery drain. So which brand is the best? The left side of the scorecard is the ungraded area that includes some basic information about the calipers. The right side of the scorecard includes the graded areas, and the Starrett came out on top with the best average finish of 3.6. It does offer automatic shutdown when not in use, and it does have the upgraded battery. However, it does not have the absolute linear scale function, which you would expect considering the price tag. The Fowler and the Mitutoyo tied for second place with an average finish of 3.7. Unfortunately, neither of those brands automatically power down when they're not in use. However, both of those brands do offer the absolute linear scale function. The Fowler does offer the upgraded battery, while the Mitutoyo does not. For a fraction of the cost, the Werka performed almost as well as the much more expensive brands. While it does not have the upgraded battery, it does automatically power down when it's not in use. While it does not offer the absolute linear scale, it's just as smooth as some of the premium brand calipers. If it's all about value, this would definitely be the set that I would purchase. If the Werka wasn't available, I really like the NEIKO for a price of around $25. It performed very well in the testing, and it feels a little bit smoother than the Werka. It's always a good day when affordable products perform well, proving you don't have to pay a lot to get a lot. All the videos in this channel, including this one, are viewer suggested, so if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Please take care and look forward to next time.